I get a big kick out of WikiHow. Some of the WikiHow are just silly things that you wonder, why is there even a WikiHow to do this thing? And others are pretty good and interesting. Recently I came across this How to Persuade an Atheist to Become a Christian. And I thought, what an interesting topic for a video. But then I got interested in who the author is, this Leah Hewen, LMFT, and I thought, what is a licensed marriage and family therapist doing writing about being a Christian? So I clicked on the bio, and sure enough, here is somebody who focuses on licensed marriage and family therapy, and then Christians right in the middle, counseling services for Christians. And I look at other articles that this person has. And while there is a lot of therapy, there is a lot of Christianity stuff too. How to believe in God. And I thought, there we are. That's what we need to do today. We're going to talk about what Leah says we need to do to believe in God. Hi, my name is Scarlett, and I am an atheist and skeptic. And a lot of times on this channel, we're looking at questions for atheists, or why I'm an atheist at all, or, anything to do with atheism. But today I thought it would be fun to look at how to believe in God, see if it's convincing. Come join me on this daring journey of how to believe in God and see if it's convincing to you. I'll let you know at the end if it was convincing to me. No blibbity blab filler, we're going straight into the WikiHow. All right, filed under philosophy and religion, specifically religion, how to believe in God. And this was last updated January 6th, 2024, and it was fact-checked. You'll be happy to know that. So we start off, as similar as some views of God may be, building a relationship with God is a quest an individual must take for oneself. Oh, must one? Must one take it for oneself? All right. This personal quest does not necessarily mean Christianity, any of the Abrahamic faiths, or any particular religion. Believing in God means believing in a higher power. Here are some things to consider as you search for faith in God. Okay, so this sounds less to me like a guide for how to believe in God, just some, thoughts that Leah had as she was putting these things together. All right, let's get going. Method 1, having faith. And I really love the WikiHow drawings. This is one of the reasons that I come to WikiHow is to see these drawings. I think they're amazing. And here we have this ecstatic woman praying, I guess. Maybe she's actually getting an answer. All right, let's go see the actual things that we need to do in having faith. Number 1, separate physical measurements from believing. Think of knowing God not by measurable events, but through an intangible presence in everything you do. God is spirit, experienced intuitively, somewhat like experiencing love, air, and gravity, and unfathomable love and grace. All right, I'm taking this as don't expect any proof of God in your life. To me, sometimes intuition can be wrong. Sometimes we get an idea, it's right based on some things we know, and we have worked through some things, and the idea pops in our head. But sometimes we get an idea and it's completely wrong, so it needs to be tested. And as for experiencing love, air, and gravity, I have news for Leah. All of these things that she thinks we experience intuitively, we can actually measure. Maybe she's confusing the fact that we don't see them. Like we don't see literal love. We can't see the air and we can't see gravity. But love, there is a person that we love. The person is definitely there. And we can measure the chemicals in our bodies and the hormones and all of the things that are giving us the biochemical experience of love. Air is something, we feel wind, by the way. We experience how cold, hot, damp the air is. We can measure it. We know the composition of our atmosphere. And gravity has a whole formula. There's nothing intuitive about any of these things. All of these have tangible measurements. Unlike God, the spirit, which what is that? Can you measure it? Do you know the composition of it? But just in summary, I guess this whole thing is don't expect anything that you can actually put your finger on about God. You'll just quote unquote know it when you feel it. There are some bullet points under here. The first bullet, knowing of God has more to do with the heart, core beliefs, than with objects. I have no idea what that just means. We don't have core beliefs in our heart. They're all in our head. Again, let's keep reading. The belief you form through faith and in a higher power than yourself does not just happen. Yeah, probably you were indoctrinated. You do not wake up one morning, brush your teeth, and say, today I'm going to believe in God. Today I'm going to have faith. Well, some people might do that. Something has to happen for you to need and to seek out that faith. By the way, I clicked on the link, which is to a Psychology Today paper, What Kind of Thinker Believes in God? Cognitive Style Helps Determine Religious Faith, and I didn't see anything that really backs up what she's talking about here. So we're not going to go look at it. Let's continue on. If you approach faith from this premise, then you will see that believing in God is about reflecting on the impact He has on you and on others. Well, if we can't measure Him, if this is just something that's an intuition, I don't know how any of this works. Again, this bullet point to me boils down to you have an intuition, you just know it when you know it, there is no proof. Let's go on to bullet 2. You'll find that believing is not by material means, but by personal development of spiritual faith, since God is generally viewed as a living spirit, not having a decaying body. He can be measured by intangible things like acknowledging His presence, our beliefs, plus our ways and reactions. Once again, that link does not really back up her point. It is about the evolution of religious belief. Why do people believe in God? And it talks about inferring agency behind actions in the world. It's not about how God is generally viewed or anything. It's about why people believe in Him. But I would love to know what a living spirit is. Like if you could define that, that'd be great. But I would like to point out that this bullet point contradicts what we were told above. He's measured by intangible things. I thought we weren't supposed to be able to measure Him at all. But then the thing she's talking about here, it sounds like kind of like believe and then you'll believe. Like acknowledge His presence and then you'll start believing. Acknowledge you have beliefs and then you'll start believing. So it just seems like this is one where don't expect proof or evidence, just believe. The last bullet, think about all the things you believe in. You may believe that a team is the best team in your sport, for example, but what is this based on? Do you favor them because they have superior statistics and more championships? Chances are you favor them because of the specific impact they have on you as a fan. Your appreciation for them is based on something inside you, individual and immeasurable. So the first thing I have to point out is the team actually exists. Like there are teams, you can go watch them play, you can see them on the TV, all of that kinds of things. And you choose a team for various reasons. You don't have to choose a team because you think they're the best. It may be the team of your city or you like their mascot. Basically, I'm saying that there are different reasons for liking a team, and this has nothing to do with your spirituality. I'm not even sure that you can say that people like teams because of the impact that they have on them as a fan. People often choose teams early on because their family likes them or whatever. It's something that reminds them of their parents or grandparents or something like that. I think what she's getting at is that our preferences are not rational, which is true, and they don't have to be. They're just our preferences. They're things we like. We don't choose teams for these very cerebral reasons. We choose them for other more emotional reasons. But that's completely separate from whether or not there's a supernatural or whether God exists. You don't just become irrational about knowing how does the world work and is there a supernatural. So I think that we're trying to cross different kinds of activities here and pretend like it's the same thing as believing in God. It isn't. These are different things. And once again, the sport exists, the team exists, we can watch them play, etc., etc. Let's move on to point 2. Replace proof with trust. Well, of course, because there's no evidence, as we saw, it was all intangible above. But let's keep going. Having faith involves taking a choice. This means deciding to trust without absolute certainty. I guess what she's referencing here is a leap of faith. You take the leap of faith, that's your choice. Now, I'm all for thinking that you do make decisions without absolute certainty. Like, there's almost nothing certain in life. But, again, believing in God with no evidence, forget proof, I just don't think this is the best way to go about it. By the way, that link goes to an article called Religiosity, Emotions and Health, the Role of Trust, Mistrust in God in People Affected by Cancer. And this really isn't what she's talking about. I mean, this is specifically in cancer. It has nothing to do with life in general. So these verified sources really don't have much to do with the article. They're about God and they're vaguely about what she's talking about, but they don't really prop up. So I'm not sure what they're about, I guess is what I'm saying. Let's look at the bullet points. Chances are you make decisions on faith every day. If you've ever ordered food from a restaurant, you've taken a step of faith. That particular restaurant may have a high customer rating and stellar health score, but chances are you haven't witnessed firsthand your food being made. You have to trust that the chefs have washed their hands and prepared your food properly/safely. So I don't see this as the same kind of faith. First of all, the trust I place in a restaurant is provisional. So if I thought that they weren't respecting the health regulations and that the food was becoming unsafe, I wouldn't go there. But I think there's too much emphasis on being able to see everything. Like, we don't have to see everything personally. There are other things that we could do. Although, for one, I can actually see other customers' food being brought out and I can see what they're eating. If I've been to that restaurant, then I might have more trust in the restaurant. But I am really relying on the fact that we live in a society where we have these regulations. It's very different from saying you have faith and then there's nothing that you can point to, there's nothing that you can measure, this deity that you're just supposed to believe in, and if you feel something, that must be the deity. It's completely different. So the trust in the food, again, provisional and based on some other ideas, even though not necessarily seeing every step. Believing the deity, it seems like just do it. Just take a leap of faith. I don't have to take a leap of faith with the restaurant. Let's go on to bullet 2. Seeing isn't always believing. There are still things science can't measure, yet people still believe in them. For example, astronomers cannot actually see black holes in outer space because by definition they absorb materials and the light that is necessary for us to observe them. But by observing the behavior of matter and the orbits of stars around a black hole, we can predict that one is present. God is also non-viewable, but has knowable qualities and observable influence that draws people to him. So here I have definite evidence that we're confusing being able to measure something and seeing something. And it's true that science can't measure everything because we don't have instruments for everything, but guess what? We can do all kinds of measurements about black holes. So we've confused seeing and measuring here. By the way, that reference 4 is that same article about trust, mistrust, and cancer. So I'm not going to go to these anymore because I don't think they have anything to do with the article at hand. But I would like to know what these noble qualities are and the observable influence. Like, you could have listed that here. I don't really know why this started out with seeing isn't always believing. I mean, it's true, there's too much emphasis on the seeing, but that has nothing to do with what you're saying here. What you're saying is you're not seeing, but you still believe. But okay. Let's just keep going. The last bullet here. Think of a time a family member has been sick and gotten better. Did you ever pray or hope to something higher for their recovery? Maybe this event is like an orbiting star and God is like gravity that is exerting his pull on all things. So if I've understood correctly, God makes people get sick so that we will feel the urge to pray, likely because we've been indoctrinated to do so. So that the person getting sick is what God is using to lead us to him? Like, is that what I'm understanding here? Doesn't he have a better way to do it? You know, I think that what would be better here is showing that prayer works, which, by the way, it doesn't. And there are studies out there. We don't have time in this video to look them up, but that would be something better. Like, Christians prayed and the sick people got better. But no, we didn't do that. We seem to be saying that sometimes bad things happen and it leads people to God. So I guess that's why bad things happen. I'm probably reading way too much into this. Let's go on to point 3. Stop trying to control everything. Probably across all religions that have a concept of God, this belief is constant. God created all things. Because God is the creator, only he is in full control. You know, just because he created everything doesn't necessarily mean he's in full control. So that's my point number 1. My point number 2 is that, sure, a lot of religions have a creator God, but not all do. There are polytheisms that have all kinds of gods, and sometimes there's not even a creator God. The creation just happens. Now, I do think that there's wisdom in this bolded part, stop trying to control everything. I mean, I think it's good for us to learn what our locus of control is and exert the kind of control that we have. But, you know, we can control other people. We can't control all events. This is not necessarily a religious belief. I mean, you can see this in Stoicism. So there's that. But again, you know, I don't know why God gets to be in control just because he created everything. Let's see the bullets. Relinquishing control of certain aspects of your life does not mean you are powerless. Don't think of God as a puppeteer pulling your strings, but as a parent keeping you safe. You still choose the course of your life, but life may not turn out the way you plan or wish. In times like this, it's important to remember that God is there to help you. I think this paragraph is all over the place. It wants to have it every single way. God is in full control, but he's not a puppeteer. He's only like a parent keeping you safe. But if bad things happen, like disasters or illnesses or things like that, God's not going to help you out there. And you can plot the course of your life, but you may not be able to go where you want to go. God is there to help you, but God is creating all this stuff. So, okay. To me, this just sounds like you have free will, but God knows everything's going to happen. Let's go to the next bullet. Knowing that you are not in control of everything can be empowering. Recovery programs like Alcoholics Anonymous are founded on the premise that people are not fully in control, and that belief in a higher power restores balance by yielding one's broken ego. Once we accept that we cannot control everything, we learn to accept things we can control. This just sounds to me like, oh, we're sinful people, we have to give in to God, and only God can remove our sin, and we're only free if we give up our freedom. And throwing in this Alcoholics Anonymous makes it sound like there's something palpable out there, some real world good that's being done. But okay. And again, I do think knowing our locus of control is a good thing, and learning where we can make decisions and where we can't, where we just don't control those things. The last bullet is consider the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. There are many things you can change, but things you can't. You may believe that there are higher powers that shape your life's outcome. This is a great starting place for discovering faith in God. Personally, I do think there's a lot of value in this serenity prayer if you just remove the God grant me part, just kind of, may I have the serenity to accept the things, etc., etc. Again, it's knowing your locus of control. It's a lot of the basis of Stoicism and a lot of counseling practices. I also happen to think that there are forces that shape our life that have nothing to do with higher powers. It's other people making decisions. It is the weather. It is all the kind of stuff that's going on in this world. I don't think that this necessarily has to lead us to God. I mean, I guess it sounds to me like this whole section is, sometimes we can't control life, but wouldn't it be nice to believe in something that is in control? Just call that thing God, and then you'll be happy. I guess I just don't see the need for that. I mean, it is true. I don't control a lot of the things that happen in this world. I can't control other people, but I don't need to think that there's some God controlling everything, or a higher power, or a Tao, or anything like that. It's just this crazy place we call Earth, stuff happens and we're part of it, for good and for bad. All right, let's move on to method 2, which is called learning about God. And I'm not sure that that's really a method, but here we go. Number 1, go to places of worship. Try attending a Jewish, Muslim, or Christian service. Listen to the words that the minister, rabbi, imam, or pastor is saying and try relating it to your life. All right, I don't have a problem with this. Yeah, go to places of worship. When I go to Christian places now, it's like I really realize how crazy it all is. It's just amazing. Anyway, bullet 1, clergy often deliver a speech called a sermon that relates everyday life to beliefs in God. See if things they're saying connects with you on a personal level. Though you may not know the specifics of your religious text, maybe a sentiment or point the speaker makes will connect with you in a big way. For example, treating your neighbor as you would treat yourself. Okay, so I guess find selfish reasons to believe in God is what this is saying. Like the sermon might tell you something interesting that you can use in your life. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. It's just funny though. It's not going to necessarily lead you to God. Bullet 2, don't worry about not being of that faith. Though you may be restricted from partaking in certain practices, like receiving communion, there are no restrictions for listening. In fact, Christians should be, and usually are very happy, when new people become curious and interested in the teachings of God. It's funny, we went from attending any kind of service to just Christians. I wonder if rabbis and imams would also be like that, We're just going to skip the next bullets because it's just information about when services are and what they're like. And, fine, I don't see anything interesting or worth discussing. So we're going to move on to point 2. Talk to people who believe in God. Maybe someone you know has a well-founded relationship with God. Talk to him or her about why and how faith is so strong. How do you determine that somebody has a well-founded relationship with God? They just say it? They tell you they've been attending church for a long time and you just take their word for it? I don't know any other way to do it. Bullet 1 under here, ask questions. Why do you believe in God? What makes you sure that God is there? Why should I believe in God? These are all questions that a friend might have a unique insight to. Remember to be respectful and ask questions in a curious but non-aggressive manner. Once again, this links to another source. I'm not sure how it supports what she's talking about here. It goes back to an American Psychological Association article, A Reason to Believe Religion May Fill the Human Need for Finding Meaning, Sparing Us from Existential Angst, while also supporting social organization. Researchers say it's not about talking to a friend at all. It seems to me, though, that these questions are indicating that you really, really do want to believe in God and you're looking for reasons to do so, as opposed to, hey, let's go out in the world and see what's out there. But I guess if you're on WikiHow to believe in God, then that's what you're trying to do. And, I do agree you should be respectful and try not to be passive-aggressive or aggressive. The next bullet says, pastors aren't only available during conversion or confession. If you attend church on a weekday, chances are you will be able to talk to him before or after a service. Such teachers of God will likely be happy to answer any questions you have about believing in him. And of course, it's another area where you're getting somebody that already accepts this, and you've got to understand that this person has an interest in getting you to come there, tithing, potentially thinks that he is saving your soul, and on and on. All right, let's go on to point 3. Pray and acknowledge God in all you say and do. Many religions believe that a good relationship with God starts with steady prayer of communication with him. God will likely not respond verbally to your prayers, but there are other signs that show he is listening. I'm just really laughing at this one. Like, who would expect a God to respond verbally? I mean, that would be a good way for him to respond, or them, whatever God is. What other signs is God going to show you? It's funny. I've heard so many Christians say, well, yeah, I did a prayer and then this happened, and it was just random stuff. There wasn't anything even special, like a butterfly flew by or a bird came in a tree, and I thought that was God. So I'd like to know what signs that he's listening. Let's see what the bullet points say. Prayer is especially important in times of need. Many people have a misconception that prayer is a vehicle for wish fulfillment. Actually, prayer is not asking God to solve all your problems for you. It is asking him to help you deal with your problems/opportunities. Well, the Bible says that you can ask for anything you want. But I do have to say that if you're praying in times of need, then that is a form of wish fulfillment. I understand that what we're trying to distinguish is you can't oh, dear God, please get me a job or a pony or whatever, help me win the lottery. But anything that you're praying for, that you're saying, please God, do this, is a kind of wish fulfillment. And of course, there's that old saying that if you get it, it's because God wanted you to have it, and it could be maybe later. And if you don't get it, it's because it's not meant to happen and all that garbage. Let's go on. Bullet 2. You might have a tough decision ahead of you. Pursue a job or continue on with your education. Try praying to God for guidance. See what choice you make and observe the outcome. Though things may not end up how you plan, think of this as another opportunity to pray. So my main issue with this is all of this stuff around prayer is not really tethered to reality. And there's no way to know what the message is. You can get whatever message you think God is sending. And what we're talking about here is you invest a lot of your life into something, and if it doesn't work out, how do you know what the message is supposed to be? Like, let's say you pursue a job and you end up in a toxic environment. Is that supposed to be teaching you a lesson, or did you choose wrong? Or let's say you get into a career and 10 years down the line, that whole career line just goes away for some reason, which happens every so often. Again, did you choose wrong, or are you being taught a lesson? Or let's take marriage. You choose a life partner, you pray, you think that you're getting a message to marry the person, and then let's say like a decade down the line, the marriage goes wrong for some reason, whatever. It's abusive, or you just don't get along, or whatever. And maybe there are even kids involved. So was this God trying to teach you something, or did you misinterpret the original message and now he's showing you that you messed up? And of course, divorce is wrong in a lot of Christianity. So now you're going to get divorced and maybe you'll find somebody else and be considered a sinner in all of this. I guess my point is, at the end of the day, it's humans interpreting these things, and it can be in any direction. You can think anything, and I don't know how you decide what it is that this God is supposedly trying to tell you, because he's not all that clear. Again, it could be anything that you want. Let's move on. Point number 4. Don't think of bad outcomes as the result of God not listening or being present, but of his answering your prayer in a way you haven't considered yet. The Bible emphasizes the fact that God works in mysterious ways. Oh yeah, do tell. Think of God as a teacher, helping you learn important life lessons, not by just giving you the answer, but by helping you arrive at that answer yourself. Think back to school and ask yourself, did my teachers tell me the answers or teach me how to understand issues and solve problems? Think of events in your life as lessons more so than answers. I'm just going to go back to the point I just made above. Since none of this is tethered to reality, unlike what the teachers were teaching you, how do you know that you're understanding the right lessons? I mean, there are people that end up having bad job after bad job after bad job, or they get married multiple times. This includes Christians. Is it that they're not understanding the message? Are they not learning the lessons? And how come God is such a bad teacher? And of course, there are some people everything works out. So I don't know. What are we supposed to be understanding? I just feel like this is too touchy-feely and we can't really get back to God is teaching us anything. It could be anything we want. Let's move on though. Method 3, again, of believing God, being active in the community. I don't know how this is going to lead you to believing in God. I mean, is the point that God is out there somewhere and if we're active in the community, then we will meet God? I don't think so, because I think somebody would have shown us that already. Point number 1 is volunteering. I just have to point out here that you don't have to believe in God or a higher power or anything to volunteer. You can be just a heathen atheist and volunteer at soup kitchens or food drives, like they say here. Bullet 1, believing in a higher power means shifting the emphasis off yourself. Helping others is a great opportunity to look at your life from a different perspective. Interacting with others who are less fortunate often helps you appreciate things you take for granted in your life. You don't need to believe in a higher power for all of that. I agree that all of us could benefit from shifting some of the emphasis off ourselves and helping our communities and the people in our lives. Don't need a God for that. Point 2, basic things like having shelter, eating food, or being able to sleep soundly are luxuries that some don't have. These are all things that you can thank God for and can help you believe God is looking out for you. Okay, but why are there people that don't have that shelter, that don't have food to eat and cannot sleep soundly? Where is God for them? Like, nice for you. Now, from a heathen atheist point of view, what I think is we live on a crazy planet with all kinds of people doing good, bad, and neutral things. And so we've ended up in this circumstance where some people lack shelter and food and security. But how does that work in a theist system? Why are you that privileged person and there are other people that aren't? Bullet 3, be thankful and be persistent. Notice how people who have not had certain things can still thrive, okay? Tony Melendez, a man born without arms, recently played the guitar for Pope John Paul II using his feet. That wasn't recent. Surprise, surprise, that link goes out to something about gratitude and not this article. But, you know, John Paul II died a couple decades back. We've had 2 popes since then. Anyway, being thankful for the things you have shifts attention from all the things that are missing in your life. Focus on the positive. Optimism is a stepping stone to believing in something greater than yourself. You know, I do think that gratitude is a great thing. I think taking stock of the things that are positive in your life is wonderful. I think it has a lot of benefits. You don't need a higher power or God or anything like that. None of this necessarily leads to God. The next point is do good deeds. Try extending your charitable acts to everyday life. Volunteering is both unselfish and generous, but don't overlook the little things. You know, you can be a heathen atheist and do that too. Point 3, show love and concern to find God. You can team with God to serve as his hands and feet. Simply holding open the door for someone can brighten that person's day. Little things like smiling, giving up your seat to the elderly on public transportation, or just saying thank you can bring you closer to God. Don't underestimate the effects a good deed can have on your feeling and believing how a higher power affects others through you. Oh, so you can't even take credit for something nice that you do? Give me a break. I'm sorry, you don't need to believe in God to do nice things for other people. To me, a lot of this is about recognizing the humanity in others. Like, hey, we're all having a human experience on this earth. Let me do a nice thing for you today. I feel good when people do nice things for me. I want to return those favors by doing nice things for other people's. No higher power or deity or anything. Like, let's take credit for some of the good things that we do here on the earth, people. We're not all evil. The first bullet on this, think of times when someone, maybe even a complete stranger, has done something good to you. Maybe you dropped your cell phone and someone picked it up and stopped you to return it. Did you ever pause to think about that person's actions? Maybe that person was an answer to your simplest prayer, please God, just help me get through today. This is like the most basic of consideration for other people, and we're like lifting this up as if we're doing these great things and it's the deity working through us. Like, give me a break. Look, I agree. We should try to be nice to people and return things that they drop and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes it can be a way of helping people get through a day, but it doesn't have to mean that there's a deity there, and you don't need to think that a deity is acting through you. Just do something nice because we're all humans down here having an experience. So the last bullet under here, God bless you. Have you ever helped someone and been told that? Try letting those words truly sink in and appreciate that deeply. What if a good deed is really God telling you that he hears and sees us and allows your intents and purposes to express his love? And what if a good deed is just a good deed? Again, recognition of the humanity of other people. Before I close out a video, at the end of these WikiHow, sometimes there are these expert Q&As, and I just wanted to share one. The question is, does God really care about me? And the community answer is, yes, he certainly does. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, so that anyone who believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Now, John 3:16 says that he loved the world, not you. Doesn't say he cares about you. You know, it'd be nice if God did something else like just show up to show that he cared. So I don't know about you, but I did not find this wiki how to believe in God very useful. To the extent that it was about finding God, it seemed to be saying, you know, you can't see any evidence, it's not obvious, it's an intuition, it's how you feel. And that a lot of this, I don't think you need a God for at all. But let me know your thoughts and pop them in the chat below. And while you're down there, you can like and subscribe and do all the YouTube stuff. Pour out your libations to Algorithmo. May Algorithmo bless and keep you. May Algorithmo make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you so that you may have further YouTube recommendations that suit your lifestyle. And if you like what I do, you can buy me a coffee. That link is also in the description below. And I will be back soon for something more. See you then. Bye for now.